Now we're getting this new video into Fox News from the same area. You can see a migrant there using bolt cutters to make a hole in the razor wire at the border. Now, once the hole is big enough, he escorts dozens of illegal immigrants through the opening. This process continued until a Texas guardsman stepped in.
So there's Emily Campagna on Fox News, just kind of illustrating the video that they were showing as well, where you have this individual cutting the wires and letting the migrants come in, flowing in until the Texas law enforcement steps in. And Jim Carafano joins us once again, the senior counselor to the president and E.W. Richardson Fellow for International Engagement at the Heritage Foundation. Jim, I couldn't help but listen to the way Emily was explaining this person cutting the wire, telling people to come in, and then Texas is there to stop them. It sounds like Joe Biden to me.
Yeah, look, so, I mean, I don't know the reality of this, which is we're exponentially getting more illegal immigrants in the country every day. And all the attendant problems that go with that, the cost, the crime, the threats of terrorism, what happened in Moscow could easily happen here in any, not that I wish that any of this would happen, but in any auditorium or arena in the country. And an administration whose policy is to obfuscate the response and responsibility. The only thing we know for sure from the Biden administration is they actually don't want to change the situation on the ground. We have the president of Mexico basically tell the president of the United States that if you want me to slow immigration down so you can get reelected, you have to lift sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba, which, oh, by the way, would only send more illegal immigrants here. So who would have thought? So literally the American people have a choice either to believe what they see and accept that and all the consequences that go with that, or to just accept a government which just refuses to acknowledge reality.
Yeah, you mentioned Moscow, and there is discussion happening about who's responsible for what took place in Moscow. But I guess terrorists they're invested in instilling terror and reminding people that anything like that can happen at any time. They make people live in fear. Is Joe Biden not afraid of what could happen in the United States?
Well, let me give you an example. Let's just say, because everybody knows about this horrific accident we all woke up to this morning, that a ship lost power and basically just rammed into the Key Bridge outside of Baltimore. If that had been, if a group of ISIS had gotten on board that ship, killed the crew, and drove the ship into the boat, today we would walk up and say, we wouldn't just walk up and say, oh, gee, wasn't that a terrible thing? We'd walk up and say, oh, my God, that was the next 9/11. And this entire country would be terrified and angered beyond belief. And to your point is terrorism is different, right? People die, we're sad, we're angry, but a terrorist act happens. And we know that somebody is intentionally threatening the lives of innocents, and you can be next. And we turn to our government, we say, what are you going to do about this? So can you imagine, could you imagine what the Biden talking points would have been if the accident at the Key Bridge this morning had been a terrorist attack? We can almost write them now. Not my fault. Who could have known? Somehow it's Trump's fault. If you say we have to respond to this, well, you're a racist or anti-Islamic or anti-xenophobic or something, right? But so it's just that they will lie. They will just, their first instincts will be to lie to us more. Nobody's going to go to the microphone and say everything we've done in the last 3 years basically set us up for this, and we have failed you. And either I resign or I will change all of my policies tomorrow and fix this. We know they're not going to do that.
What rich soil we have created I can just think of, I don't know anything like you do, but like how many people would like for the United States to get knocked down a rung or two or 10 to be able to we've created an environment on our homeland where we are soft targets and effectless in our response to things because the only thing that counts is the political response.
Yeah, let's look at this from the other perspective. We spent 20 years building the infrastructure and the architecture and the capabilities to prevent the next 9/11, and we have spent the last 3 years dismantling them, either distracting them, changing their mission, not funding them, giving them something else to do, intentionally imposing policies which make their job impossible. It would be as if we knew World War II was coming, and we spent 20 years getting ready, and then 3 years disarming before it started.
It's absurd. I mean, when you and I talk about these things, whether it's the southern border or any other sort of national security concern that we have, and I'm going to be honest, as soon as I saw that bridge thing, my first question was, is this nefarious or is this just an incredible accident?
Right.
How is this so obvious? How is this such a reality and the Democrats are so able to get away with it?
So there's a couple of ways to look at it, and I don't live inside their head, so I don't know. I mean, one is it's an argument for the demonstration of the lack of accountability, right? When you don't actually pay a price for what you do. What is the inclination to do better, right? So when you have the DOJ protecting you, the media protecting you, the pundits protecting you, the universities protecting you, your allies making excuses for you, and you're never held accountable. It's like an addict. What's the motivation to change, to go sober, if everybody's an enabler? So that's one. Another way to look at it is just the incessant drive for power. I mean, think about the Olympian who puts everything in their life aside, their family, their children, their job, everything, and because they're obsessive on one goal, which is to be the fastest and get across the goal line. And you have a leftist thing in America that they want control, they want power, they want to run this country, and they're so obsessively focused on that end state that they've ignored everything else going on around them, as if America is literally collateral damage in their drive to power. Maybe a little of both.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it is. I don't think we have a doddering president who doesn't know what he's doing. I think if there was a stone cold Joe Biden who was 26 years old, he would still be doing this.
Really? That's sad. I want to shift off the border and the bridge right now, but I want to play for you a clip from John Kirby on the UN vote and Netanyahu here.
We're kind of perplexed by this. A couple of points that need to be stated and, in fact, restated. Number one, it's a non-binding resolution, so there's no impact at all on Israel and Israel's ability to continue to go after Hamas. Number two, as I said in my opening statement, it does not represent a change at all in our policy.
John Kirby, they're perplexed that Netanyahu wouldn't be ready to come to Washington, D.C. with their delegation. Why would he be perplexed by that?
Right. So nobody should pay attention to what the United States says on the global stage, right?
Yeah.
We should ignore that. That's what John Kirby just said. It's a non-binding resolution. Just because we did this stupid vote doesn't mean that means anything. Okay, so why should we be held at our word? Every utterance that Donald Trump makes is the criteria for prison. But Joe Biden, it doesn't matter that we've said something on the world stage. That's an interesting comment. The second thing is doesn't really affect Israel at all. I mean, really, come on. I mean, at some point, when you work in the Biden administration, you have to think, how can I go to sleep at night? How can I rationalize this as okay? To find new ways to lie to the American people and just be fine. Either you're always a Rachel Maddow, and you're just obsessively whatever, or you're a good person and you got trapped in this and you can't find your way out. Because this is, for somebody to get up in front of an audience and say that's not normal.
Jim, when I wrote that down, nobody should pay attention to what we say. If John Kirby is saying we need the world to be smart enough to only watch what we do, it seems like he's trying to thread that needle by saying, except for Michigan and Minnesota, we need them to be dumb enough to only pay attention to what we say.
Well, look, I get the whole point. Watch what we do, not what we say. But we're not doing. We're not pushing, offensive weapons to Ukraine that needs to defend itself. We're not pushing support to Israel. So if you're saying watch what we do, not what we say, geez, that's even more scary. At least with Donald Trump, he may, say some things people thought were wacky, but then he would go out and do something really awesome. Like, what do you want? And is it just is it just about politics or just about Michigan? I don't think it's just about votes in Michigan, because actually I don't think if they care if they lose the election, because they'll just demonize Donald Trump for 4 years and they'll find some other Yahoo to run and they'll pick up where they left off. But this is a transformation of one of the major political parties in the United States that has now decided that American interests are trumped by activists. That's, what that is? That is the definition of populism, right? Yeah. People get this, they always accuse Republicans and conservatives of being populist, and we are not populist in that way. The 20th century model of populism was people said, give me all your power and I'll take care of you. Now, they don't define what that means, but give me all your power and I'll make all the decisions for you. That's fascism and Nazism and communism, and that's a form of 20th century populism. We're populist in the old-fashioned way, which is we want our leaders to do the stuff that's good for us. And so we are the true old-fashioned populists, like the American Revolutionary populists. These guys are populists in the vein of they want power, and then they're going to do what they want. And so what the Democratic Party has told us is that activists that want 87 genders and and everybody to eat bugs and drive bicycles and make war on decent, innocent countries, they want all the power so they can do those things. That's their form of populism.
Jim, one last question before we let you go, because I know that you pay very close attention to national security as well. But I'm wondering if the degradation of law and order, the degradation of law enforcement, we're going to be speaking after we get done with you with Lieutenant Joe Gamaldi and he's with the Fraternal Order of Police. But we are seeing police be gunned down on a regular basis in this country. But career criminals, people who have been here and committed crime, and people who are coming here and committing crime. And it just seems like we can't figure out societally who the real bad guys are. We're not willing to say it out loud, and we're losing our officers.
Honestly, and this is somebody who comes from a long line of policemen. So many people in my family were in law enforcement. I can't even go through the numbers, but it's not we want a lawless society. Look, that's collateral damage. We want power and authority. If some cops get killed or some women get raped, that's just collateral damage. Some communities get destroyed, some, grocery stores get burned to the ground. Oh, it's just, you gotta make some sacrifices. And the problem is when the people you're elected to serve become the sacrifice for your goals and end state, there's a big disconnect there.
That's huge. Yeah, that's right. Jim, thanks for being with us today. We always appreciate your time.
Thanks, my friend.
Bye-bye.